Quarter was packed on Friday and Saturday night with crowds gathered on Bourbon Street yet again with what appeared to be very little social distancing and hardly any mask at that. Mayor LaToya Cantrell told WWL-TV she is concerned by what she saw. We all saw it over the weekend as the city battles a recent surge in coronavirus cases. Paul Murphy reports city leaders are now meeting to determine whether changes need to be made to encourage visitors to follow reopening guidelines.
On any other July night at any other time, New Orleans tourism officials would welcome a crowd like this on Bourbon Street during the slow summer months. But with the city experiencing an uptick in new coronavirus cases, visitors shoulder to shoulder, some wearing masks, some not, are not what city leaders want to see. Tony Adams from Bourbon Street Harley-Davidson says the French Quarter was packed both Friday and Saturday night.
A lot of the restaurants are not open, as you can see. The plywood's still up on a lot of places. But, you know, everybody's still in the spirit. Everybody wants to come to Bourbon Street and have a good time. It's what it's about.
It looked like how it was months before.
Saturday night, Times-Picayune New Orleans advocate photographer Sophia Germer shot a photo essay on Bourbon Street. Her pictures show large groups of people gathered outside bars and clubs, which are takeout only under the latest reopening mandates.
There was no social distancing. There was, you could tell that some people were a little timid going into the crowd.
New Orleans & Company Senior VP Mark Romig told us, despite the large crowds, hotels in the city continue to struggle.
The hotels that we've spoken to about the weekend reported pretty flat, probably 20%, 25% occupancy. And then, of course, dropping during the weekday now back into close to single digits.
Mayor LaToya Cantrell says her team will address the uncontrolled gatherings in the French Quarter.
We saw some level of compliance, but we're very much concerned about, again, those large gatherings that we cannot charge that to a particular establishment.
The mayor had one idea to possibly install temporary seating along Bourbon to help keep visitors in their individual groups of no more than 10 people. Paul Murphy, Eyewitness News.
And Mayor Cantrell said the rate of positive COVID cases is creeping up again in New Orleans. Just 2 weeks ago, the rate was hovering around 2%. And the mayor says now the rate is close to 7% and added the vast majority of new coronavirus cases come as a result of community spread.